Welcome to the Saints of City and Me, audio love letters to and from the city of New Orleans. We've been quiet for a little while and we owe you an apology. We stepped away. Why? Well, we realised we'd stepped too far away from what made this show what it was, the stories, the journeys and the passions of Saints fans. Whether it's from Baton Rouge to Bolton, New Orleans to Norwich or Metairie to Mayo Bridge. But we're home again, the mics are warm, the story's going to be flowing and we're back where the magic happens. So, to mark the return, we're kicking things off with a familiar face and a friend of the show. Jay Lawrence. You might know Jay from his work on Absolute Radio, Mondays to Thursdays, 10 p.m. and Sundays from 2 p.m, or from his podcast, Tailgaters with Jay, where you might have heard him talking to a certain Irish lad with a big old leg, or hosting Till Talk, which is the official Jacksonville Jaguars UK and Ireland podcast. If you've heard his last appearance with us, you'll know we're going to have a good time. And if you didn't, well, you're about to learn why we invited him back. Jay, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me, both of you. I mean, I like the New Orleans to Norwich. I don't know if that was a wink to me, having lived in Norwich and New Orleans. I love it.
We do our research.
They were very good, Dan. Those little links, Mayo Bridge as well. Well done, mate. That's,
yes,
impressive stuff.
Perfect. Thank you for the Teal Talk reference as well. That's why I've got the big Jacksonville Jaguars thing behind me. But you know, a lot of love for the Jags, but a whole lot of love for the Saints.
Yeah, we don't want any slander coming in because of that.
So how you doing, Jay? It's been you came on but just when we first started the show, which was started doing a pod. It's not a show, the pod a couple of years ago, and obviously you've what's the word I want to look for? Your presence in the market for this NFL in the UK is grown significantly, and like we're really pleased to see the work you're doing. How's things been the last couple of years that you've been ramping up in the NFL space?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, it's just when you love doing something, you just want to do it as much as possible. Do you know what I mean? And in as many different ways as possible. So it's been great being on the radio doing the NFL. I made my first TV appearance earlier, well, my first NFL TV appearance as well a couple months ago on Channel 5, which was great. I really enjoyed that. It's just been good to. It's just good to talk about the NFL, and you know this. You know, when you're in the UK, it's not like Premier League where it's everywhere. So just being able to take these opportunities when you get them as much as you can, when there aren't that many opportunities, it's just great to do. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely.
You've worked hard for it. Yeah, I mean, as Dan was saying, when we had you on in, I think it was August 23, and you were sort of all off your own back doing, you know, all your TikToks and all those sort of things. And just to see that progression and, you know, and obviously as you're saying, it's not wall to wall like it is with the Premier League, but when you're an NFL fan in the UK, everything you follow sort of tacks into that. So we're getting sick to death of seeing your face, Jay, if I'm absolutely honest, mate. You're everywhere.
Sorry. I apologize.
I'm joking, of course. I'm joking. But obviously the hard work paid off because we know you were grinding for it.
Yeah, I still feel like I am, to be honest. You know, it's not like I think you constantly are. This, as I said before, there's not that many opportunities. So, it's often, you still feel like, it's not like you feel like it's never enough. It's just that it's never like there's one opportunity or there's a load of opportunities. It's just a case of just trying your best to take advantage of them. And as I say, there's not a ton. So when you get them, you just try and do it and do a good job and then try and do it again and blah, 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 annoy people and, and all of that. But, it's just good to talk about the NFL. And going to my first Super Bowl in February was a big thing for me. That was like a big bucket list moment there, and being able to get to the game. So that was all an amazing thing and something that was really up in the air until about a week before. And that's a big bucket list moment just ticked off.
So on that, I will point out, and you might want to speak to your colleagues, your Absolute Radio bio says, dreams of one day attending a Super Bowl. So you need to get updated. Ready as I say, has completed the dream.
I'll have to let them know that. Well, do you know what? That's quite nice though. And it's funny because I remember doing an interview. This isn't with, when I got, this was 2020. I did like an interview with the Radio Times. They do this thing, basically, it's like a voice or like face behind the voice or whatever, like when you're on the radio. And I did an interview with them and they said, like, career goal, and a lot of people in that position are just like, I want to do the breakfast show, and I was like, I want to broadcast a Super Bowl. And I haven't done that. I haven't done that. I've attending it. That's a first step. So hopefully at some point I can broadcast the Super Bowl, and
So,
you know,
so what we're looking for is you and Will Gavin, because Will Gavin's been getting a lot of attention and love last couple of weeks for his broadcast. And if we can get
Quite rightly.
you, Will, and a couple of others on there, we can have a real good British contingent showing how it's done from for the right reasons. And it's one of the things I was going to say, like about your content, and very similar to Mark and Michael over in Ireland. I think it's the kind of content that fans naturally enjoy. It's not. I'm gonna be blasphemous. It's not that content that's about I'm doing this just because I want to put myself out there. It's you can feel that it's content that is aimed at fans to take in as fans and enjoy, rather than being just a one directional thing. And I think that's really important, because I think you need to have that kind of content out there for fans to take in and consume, more so than just being one-way traffic.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's a funny thing, really, when you do a lot of social media stuff and you do content, because like sometimes I'll have a video and it will just be like millions of people will watch it, and I put no effort into it, and then sometimes I'll be like, I spent ages doing this and I had nobody watch it, and it's a tough. As I said before, really, you do it because you do it because you love it, and then what's really nice is that even though, as I said, it's not the Premier League, it's not football, there are people that feel the same. So there are people that and this isn't meant to be like a, oh, look at me sort of thing whatsoever. But, during the London games, I had people asking for photos. I'm like, what you on about? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, because of TikTok, and it's because I've done it for so long that I think people just they'll recognize me as the NFL guy that speaks about the NFL on TikTok and stuff. And that wasn't meant to seem like, oh, look at me.
No, but
it's just pointing out that there are just loads of fans that are maybe not in like big groups. You know what it's like. It's not like big groups of football fans. It's like sporadic NFL fans. And so it's good to be like that sometimes, like the glue sometimes.
Yeah. You were with the London games. Sorry, Dan. I was just going to say because you were saying obviously about people coming up and wanting to ask for a photo, but you became a staple of the London games when the London games were on. Again, I could be wrong, but that's where I think I properly first noticed you, was the TikToks that you used to do. And I genuinely felt they became a staple of the London games. It was all right, who's Jay interviewing now? And, obviously some of the wonderful ones where you have with the Americans and they haven't got a clue what you're talking about. And that was absolutely great content. So I'm not surprised that people now run up to you and want to have a little photograph with you, or, a little selfie saying they've met Jay off TV. I'm old, I'd say Jay off the TV.
Jay off TV that one time. I did one video a few years ago and I was interviewing an American, and then I was getting such bad American feedback, people from America not liking that video, I had to delete it in case it went bad.
Really?
Yeah, and it was me that was, I'll tell you what it was. It was me going up to, what was I doing? So that was it. Like I tend to ask like a really generic question sometimes, because it does quite well. And it's like, what would you call a British NFL team, right? And this American said the Redcoats. Now, I'd been prepared for this because I imagine you guys know what Redcoats are, but,
yes.
The military, British military back in the day wore red coats. I will put it out there and say that 95% of people in the UK do not know what a red coat is, right? So then I immediately, off the back of that, I just went and asked loads of British people if they knew what a red coat was. Nobody did. Anyway, Americans did not like that. Yeah, they did not like that. So I was getting so I had to delete one of those. But yeah, it's always fun doing that around the London games. And I was meant to go to Dublin, couldn't in the end, and I felt a lot of like FOMO around Madrid and stuff. So maybe it'll be Paris next year. So that's,
we're hoping so.
I'm convinced.
So,
but
the info we got was this wasn't from the Saints. This was from I can't remember who told us actually, Mike. But they said the Saints and the NFL France are all good with it coming over. It's the Stade de France. They need to sort the dressing rooms out or something, because the dressing rooms aren't set up for NFL. So that was the Stade de France had to do something within like 2 weeks, and if that was done, they would sign it off for next year. So hopefully, whatever they needed to do, they've been able to get the NFL to be comfortable with, and we'll all be on a jolly up in Paris for a week, because there's no way
Indeed.
I'm not trying to get credentials for that, seeing as we know some people in the Saints media room.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be I'm just really hoping that is the case, and I'll very much look forward to that. To be fair, I'd really look forward to that.
Jay, just a quick one. Going back, obviously, you mentioned at the beginning about obviously a bucket list item being going to a Super Bowl. Obviously, you got to go to a Super Bowl in a city that you know very well and obviously have a lot of affection for. What was the whole experience like? And from my point of view, obviously, I know going into the Dome, seeing the Super Bowl would have been fantastic. Do you have a personal favorite sort of moment or period whilst you were over there that sort of really took you aback?
During the Super Bowl week?
During the Super Bowl week, yeah, throughout the whole experience, was there one moment where it was like, oh my God?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I can answer it quite clearly. There was loads of amazing stuff that week, and some stuff I'll have to tell you when we're not recording. But probably the bit, then this is quite an obvious one, really, and I'll try and think of another answer as well. But when I got I got food poisoning on the Saturday, the day before the game. So
Oh, blimey.
I was asked if I wanted to be on one of the floats in the French Quarter for the parade, and which my answer was hell yes. Like, absolutely, like that is, again, bucket list, whatever. I had food poisoning. There's no way I could go. So I woke up, well, it wasn't a good night on the Friday night into the Saturday. And I was like, I can't go. Felt gutted, felt awful the rest of that day. Thankfully felt better on the Sunday, but still mentally was like not quite there. And then I was early to the game. Because I was ill, I couldn't pick up my credentials, which meant that I couldn't go to like the press conferences and all of that. But thankfully my ticket wasn't about that. I had a ticket to the game. So I went there, and I was early. I was maybe like 2 hours early or something like that. And I sat in my seat, and I can't remember at what point, but I just remember before the game started just feeling tears coming down my eyes, because I was like, can't believe that I'm here, because I'd been trying to get a ticket, and as I said, I only managed to get one like a week before, and lived in New Orleans for a year back in the day. I went to Tulane for a year. My first ever American football game was at the Superdome, watching Tulane. My first NFL game was at the Superdome, watching the Saints, and then you fast forward. I'm at the Superdome, and that year that I was there, of course, and this is what I've always said, is that year that I lived in New Orleans was the year that the Super Bowl was last in New Orleans, so the 2013 Super Bowl. So I remember watching that at a pirate-themed bar just off of the square, and yeah, exactly. And then I wanted that full circle moment. I was really gearing, like, it was almost like my mental health was like so focused on it, like. I'd have been a bit worried if I didn't get it, but like, going to the Superdome and watching that was just was incredible. And like the days before it were great as well. I mean, like, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point, but going out for a drink with Charlie Smyth, who obviously is now, played incredibly the other day for the Saints, but going out with him and, it's just moments like that just have the whole, and like I'm in a bar and then we get chucked out the bar and we're like, why are we getting chucked out the bar? And then George Kittle walks into the bar with Jelly Roll and I'm like, okay, that's why we're getting kicked out the bar. Like, it's moments like that where the city really comes alive because it's such a good host city, So yeah, it was just an incredible time.
People could just walk around the city. Like when we went for Jazz Fest, we were walking down Bourbon Street going towards Jean Lafitte's, and all of a sudden Robert Plant just is walking towards us with Alison. Is it Alison Krauss who he does the duets with?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I just looked at him and was like, I know this guy. But when you think he's such a big star that you think it can't possibly be him, and then he walks past you like, and no one even bothers to bother him. He's just strolling around. He's fine. It's like that's what's cool about the city, right? People don't really care like who you are. Just get on with your business and enjoy yourself.
That was it.
I remember seeing
And the
I
bar
remember
was
seeing-
John Defeat's, by the way, that we got
Do you know
kicked
what I
out
was
of.
gonna- yeah,
So,
yeah.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
because
because I
didn't-
think
yeah,
I
'cause
saw
there was-
Cam put a
the-
message up about it. Yeah.
and
Did
there
he?
was,
Okay, yeah.
I think it was all over social media, wasn't it? Because I think Jelly Roll did a gig in there, didn't he? Like, 'cause
He did
they've got the piano.
That's it. And so we're
Yeah.
outside at this point, and so we just sort of huddle inside to watch the performance. And it's quite funny, really, because, you know, I'm on Absolute Radio, but we have another station called Absolute Radio Country. So I take a video and send it to my boss to put on Absolute Radio Country's social media, and I'm, you know, half cut at whatever, you know, he's getting this message at 5 a.m. or something, you know, and I'm thinking, when I'm texting him, I'm just like, seem sober, try and seem sober, right, while I'm texting. But, you know, it's moments like that were just amazing. And I think I'm just sort of living in the past a little bit, because I sort of feel like, you know, my brain is still there in a way. So when the next Super Bowl happens, I can't talk about it anymore, because I think that it'll be like, right, that's too far away now. It's too far gone.
No, you just keep dying. I would dine out on it forever. I just wouldn't care.
We know that, Dan.
Well, one day we can aspire to it. One day when it goes back to New Orleans, we'll try and have made this
Exactly.
podcast somewhat reputable, that they might invite us rather than, you know, just people who eat food.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully it will come back. And I don't know if it will now because of the whole stadium thing, but I was hopeful it was going to come back in like 2031, I think it was, or something like that. But we'll have to see.
They missed their chance to apply, didn't they? I think there was an oversight, so they've got to wait for the next round.
Yeah,
But everyone just had such a good time in the city. So when you met Charlie, you was at the facility. You went up to the facility for that, right?
So we went to the facility. So the first time I met Charlie was about a year ago. It was November 2024. And we went over there for it was like the Super Bowl host committee took a bunch of people and over there. And, you know, I was at TalkSport. So I went over on behalf of TalkSport. You know, Cam Hogwood from Sky Sports went over. Mark Hogan from Pro Football Ireland did as well. So we went out to the facility, which was amazing to be at. To be able to speak to, you know, NFL players, to you know, people that I've watched for, you know, Cam Jordan, who's been there, you know, however long, ridiculous time. You know, Alvin Kamara was there, and obviously we had to sit down with Charlie Smyth as well. So that was the first time I met him. We went out for we all went out for some beers, you know, that evening as well, because Charlie didn't have to be in the facility, I think, for a day or two or something like that, which was great. And then we watched the game on the Sunday, the Saints Falcons back in November. So we met him after that as well, and obviously saw him a few times at the Super Bowl as well. So he's really somebody that I admire a lot, because he's got so much confidence. He's so determined. When you speak to him, he's so intricate with the way that he's talking about kicking. He's obsessed. And this is all somebody that had never, you know, played an American football game or kicked an American football until 2 years ago. So, you know, it's really been quite a story for him, and it's been amazing. And, you know, as well, like, imagine this as well. Somebody that, you know, plays for your favorite team. Like, that's mental.
Quite incredible,
like, you know what I
isn't it?
mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm watching him yesterday. I'm watching him. My wife invited my mother-in-law round for a roast. So I get back from work just after 6 o'clock. So I go into we're in the kitchen. I've got TV in the kitchen. So I put the TV on, and I had to explain to my mother-in-law, you know, not only why we're watching the Saints play, but specifically, look, it's because of that guy. We're waiting for this particular guy to come on, because I know him and I want him to do well. And then, like, I turn the volume up because it looks like he's gonna get a chance to do a extra point. And then they go for 2, and I'm like, come on. Then, of course, he gets the field goal, a 56-yard field goal, which is unbelievable. I mean, that was amazing enough, because it could have gone for another 10 yards.
Yeah.
Easy. And then obviously the successful onside kick. It's just, you know, a debut to remember. So I've got a lot of respect for him, and I really want to get like a signed Smith jersey for the wall, frankly. So, you know,
He's a pal of yours. I'm sure you'll be able to do it, Jake. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I sent him a message last week, and, you know, before he was, you know, because when Cade York came in, it was like I basically sent him a message being like, good luck, and, you know, and all of that, or like, and he was like, I think he said something like, you know, it's all down to tomorrow, basically. And then obviously he did well enough to be the starter. And I sent him a few messages yesterday. He has not read them, and I'm not surprised, because how many messages will he have received
My
yesterday? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll ever read them until like I send him another message or something, and then he'll get them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
it's just
wonderful to see
incredible.
the outpouring of joy online as well about it. You know, not only obviously from, you know, Michael and all the guys that, you know, he's the coaches and stuff, but it's just people in America who seem to really love this story of this kid whose determination has got him somewhere, which is unbelievable within 2 years. Absolutely incredible. And I found that lovely, just the outpouring of emotion. You know, even in our WhatsApp group that we've got, Jay, you know, everybody was just over the moon for Charlie. So it was a wonderful moment for him, but a wonderful moment for obviously the guys that have been there with him and supported him, but also all Saints fans. It was absolutely fantastic.
Do you know, one of the things I love about Charlie's story as well, right? And this isn't taking anything away from any other international players, but a lot of the time people say like Graham Gano's Scottish or Dan Whelan's Irish or Jay Ajayi's English. A lot of these players went over to the US when they were under 16. OC went over there when he was 16. So they've played college football. A lot of them played high school football. Charlie's gone out there, not played college football, not played high school football, and he's grinding, like you say, Jay, working hard, so focused on his craft, and he's getting the opportunity. And I think, to me, that's an even bigger story than the majority of other international players, because he hasn't played a down of college or high school football, and he's gone out there and he's shown that he can do it. And I think that's an advertisement in itself for saying we have got talented athletes who don't have to play college football. They can come in and make an impact on the game. And it's great for the sport in Ireland. I think it's great for the sport in Europe more broadly to have that happen. And it shows that, you know, you haven't got to rely on these players to play college football. Give them a chance and you'll see what happens. I think it's a fantastic story.
And I think that's why there's been so much attention on Charlie compared to Jude McAtemney, who came in for the New York Giants to be the kicker, Irish there. And obviously Charlie had an amazing debut, and Jude had some big misses towards the end of his tenure with the Giants.
Yeah.
But, you know, still an Irish guy. He played in college. He played in college.
He played for Rutgers, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he played those years had those years of experience. So whilst, you know, obviously he's as Irish as Charlie, you know, like the experience level was different because Charlie had nothing, no American football experience until less than 2 years ago when he joined the International Player Pathway Program. So to get from there to where he is now is just, you know, incredible, really. And I'm just really excited. I really just hope that he pushes on, is consistent for the rest of the season, and gets the starting job again next year as well, because unfortunately none of that is guaranteed, especially when you're a kicker. So I'm just hopeful that that's going to be the case. But in the first game, I mean, you've seen whatever happens, he'll get something, I think, because he just showed he could do a 56-yarder in the NFL and the rest,
which would have went 70 yards, Jay, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
It was
and an
huge.
onside and a successful onside kick, which was incredible as well. So I just hope it's with the Saints. You know, I just hope it's with the Saints.
I was saying to Dan that the Saints should immediately go out and try and get international marketing rights in Ireland, because at the moment the Irish are probably the Saints' biggest fan base. You know, Saints, if you're listening, go and get those international marketing rights in Ireland.
Well, it's a really, really interesting thing that you just said that, Mike, because I just had a conversation with Mark Hogan from Pro Football Ireland, and he didn't make a comment about the Saints and the marketing rights, but I posed to him, and well, he brought it up actually, I think, that what do Irish NFL fans, what are they more interested in? Are they more interested in the historic connection with the Pittsburgh Steelers, or are they more interested in seeing that is an Irish guy, that is Charlie Smyth? And he said to me, like, well, look, he said to me that if there was a game on at the pub, they're putting the Saints on because Charlie is playing. So you've made a really good point there that if that's what they're going with, you know, I would definitely look at if Charlie's who they're going with, I think that they should definitely do that, because can you imagine right now how many people would go to Saints watch along parties in Ireland?
Yeah,
they would be busy every time.
Yeah.
But it's one of their own, and suddenly the Saints have now got another 20,000 Irish fans. And that could be a I could be underselling it there. So sometimes and we know also, we've had this experience with the Saints where, things like International Fans of the Year, and you can see that it's predetermined by, certain marketing situations, and they sort of play into that. This is certainly one where you think as a marketing sort of situation that you could really make hay with. This is a great opportunity. And look, beyond that, I'm with you what you said earlier, Jay. I hope that Charlie is there for the next 7 years and he's hugely successful, and that'll be great in itself, because his story is one of those ones where it ought to be made into a little movie on Netflix.
I literally was thinking that, I was thinking like it's probably slightly too early in that, but I feel like I was thinking about it and I was thinking this is prime Hollywood, like sports. You've got a guy who, didn't know anything, just wanted to be an NFL player, emailed the NFL when he was younger. I think he was like, I must have been about 15 or something, emailed them being like, hey, how do I become an NFL player? He literally did that,
I know.
Playing Gaelic football, obviously out in Ireland, and just tried to be an NFL player, but couldn't do it. And then because he didn't have the opportunity, and then suddenly, he has the opportunity there. So there is something there. I was thinking like there's something in this. He just needs to get like a game-winning kick in a Super Bowl or something, or not even that, but like there is something there.
Even just like a Will Lutz moment when he scored that kick against the Texans and we all went nuts for it.
Yeah.
And that was the start of his lore with Saints fans. But it is fantastic to see. And if I'm selfish, right? If they can get marketing rights and stuff in Ireland, it's like a 55-minute flight to Ireland or Paris. So either way, I can do those things. Actually, NFL Mick or Michael from Pro Football Line, he actually messaged me on Saturday and said, do you want to come over for the party if he's starting? Like, we're having a party in his hometown. And I was like, I genuinely would have loved to, but yesterday was Christmas tree day. So I was locked in with a family. But then
they're doing it again on Sunday.
Well, don't tempt me with a good time.
Fly into Belfast, and you could probably get a flight back that night. To be fair,
yeah, I wasn't sure. I think Dublin's actually closer.
Oh yeah, Dublin's two and a half hours.
See, you can see we did look into it just to see. It's like 2.5 hours to Dublin. I think 3 hours from Belfast. Who was looking at us? Oh, I could do it. We'd have to hire a car.
But to be fair, Charlie's family put us to shame, didn't they? Because didn't they find out on the Friday night? And then they did the trip, which ended up taking them 23 hours.
Got stuck in Chicago.
Well. Good on them.
Delayed because of snow, I think. But you would, wouldn't you? Right? Anyway, if it was your kids, you'd drop everything.
Oh, you got to do it.
I've dropped things for the Saints, and I haven't even got any family that play for them.
No, exactly. That little French trip that we did earlier in the year.
I'm just really happy for him. I just think he deserves it, and he just showed what he can do. Yeah. And it's just funny when you think about it that, like, with all due respect to Blake Groupie, a 56-yarder for Blake Groupie wasn't a given, and that kind of probably typifies what a lot of kickers are like. Sorry,
I said a 32-yarder wasn't, unfortunately.
So. But a lot of kickers don't. That's not a given for a lot of kickers. I know, a lot can, but. It's just amazing to see, and I've just been buzzing ever since for him, to be honest, because it's just been incredible. And for the Saints, I mean, I'd be buzzing if it was for the Dolphins or for the Bengals or whoever, but like the fact it's the Saints, and I'm literally talking, when I talk to him, I'm just talking to him about Saints. I'm talking to him about people in the organization. I'm talking about his teammates, and he's not saying anything bad about any of them. No. But, it's just interesting to know.
It's weird because obviously we know Jess, who's the yoga instructor for the Saints. Whenever we go to New Orleans, we meet her, and she's actually now become really good friends with my wife. While we're doing this, they're having an Instagram message chat about doing something over Christmas potentially. But when she talks about him, you're just like, this is just so bizarre for me. Like you're talking directly to him, but it's almost like your brain can't comprehend as a fan that you're talking to someone about these people. But Jess, she said like, she said he's like the sweetest guy. Like she's so she was posting she's so pleased for him, and I know he took her a couple of months ago. I think he got some dairy milk brought over, and she was over the moon for that. So
that's nice.
Just an all round good guy, and can't wait to see. Because what I want, Jay, and you know about this, because I want him talked about in the same breath as Cam Little, as Aubrey. You know, these players who got this massive leg and they're just blowing people away, and he's got the leg for it. And if he can just do a couple of those kicks as he solidifies his place, we'll be. You know, I've already picked him up for my fantasy team and stashed him on the taxi squad.
Good.
Yeah.
The thing that all three of those have in common that you've just mentioned are the fact that they played other sports. Brandon Aubrey, you hear about it a lot. He played soccer. Cam Little, huge soccer fan. And then obviously you've got Charlie, who played, Gaelic football for a long time. And so it's just, and I just think it's funny. I mean, I remember having a conversation with him, about a year ago, and we were talking about how he knew that he was on the International Pathway Program, obviously, I think a little while before, maybe it's, I don't know how many months, but, not a crazy amount of time, but I think it was a month or two or whatever. And he was training for it, but he was working as a teacher at the same time. So he said so the people at school knew that he was training, but it's not Gaelic football season. So they were confused. They're like, why are you training? Like, it's not, and he couldn't tell them. So what was going on? So it's just funny thinking about, well, he was a teacher and he had to hide what he was doing, because of, I don't know. I just think it's a whole cool story.
How do you feel about the Saints this year then, Jay?
Good question. Probably the same as you. I feel like this season was always a write-off to me, because I knew that the Saints weren't going to be competing, to be honest. The Saints aren't in that spot. Knew they weren't in that spot before the season. As soon as you go 0-2, you're like, okay, well, I can't really see us getting out of this now. So then it's all about, and I think that people have cottoned onto this, but surprisingly late, I think. I saw somebody tweet, one of the Saints journalists tweet about, it's about this. And I was like, yeah, it was about this in September. It's about finding the bright spots and building around the bright spots. So and yesterday was a really good example of that in Charlie, but also Devon Vele as well, who was great and had barely played up until a couple of weeks ago, really. But he had a great game. You look at Tyler Shough. Okay, I think the Saints are going to have to make a decision about what to do with him, because if he's played well, I think. How well has he played? Well, that's a good question, But there's also a lot of spots where you're like, need to be better here, need to be better there. And at the moment, the Saints are number 2 in the draft. And part of me kind of thinks, well, you need to be really sure about Tyler Shough if you're not considering getting a quarterback there, or try and trade down. So yeah, I feel very like the Saints aren't there at the moment. I want to try and give Kellen Moore the benefit of the doubt, because he's a new head coach, but he's not inspired me. Maybe that's something to do with the talent and the team. So, and I'm not somebody that likes getting rid of a coach after 1 year anyway. So yeah, I don't know if that's how you guys feel or not.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, but Mike, it's like I've used the analogy like around a golf, right? You might go so many over par, but as long as you have a couple of good shots, you're like, well, I can get on board with that and keep going. And to your point, seeing those bright spots from week to week, I'm quite well. Mike and I are both quite. I don't put words in your mouth, Mike, but we're both quite happy with what we've seen from Tyler Shough. I think you've got to give him sort of let the reins off a little bit and say, right, show us what you can do. Things like not giving him snaps in the red zone last week. Give him the snaps this week so we can see how he does in the red zone, because you're never going to know if you need to get a different quarterback. I mean, I was fully embracing the rebuild this year. In my head, like in the draft, I want us to go and get a big dominant edge rusher and then a dominant receiver with the second pick. Like, to me, that's how you build on this team. Pair those players up. You similar thoughts, I think, right?
Yeah, I think I'm impressed enough with what Shough's done. I think the red zone situation, as we were saying, is that more is at the QBs that we've got. I think yesterday was great because obviously getting two touchdowns in the red zone immediately as a Saints fan made you feel better. I'm not sure about Shough. I think he has moments where he looks like he could be, and I might be being unkind to him, but almost like a placeholder, maybe for a couple of years, because as you pointed out, Jay, we have got so many holes everywhere else that I'd be more inclined, especially with the uncertainty of the QB class that's coming out of college this year, that if you could have him and then you could build something around not only him, but something around whoever the QB is going to be in the next year or two, I would feel happier about that, because I think he can do a job. You know, whether or not it's an absolute brilliant job, at the moment he looks like he can do a job. So I'd be quite happy unless there is somebody who absolutely blows everybody's minds in the next couple of weeks in college, I'd be happy to have him there and then build around him, trade down if possible, get as many picks as you can.
Yeah, I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that. I would love to. I miss Michael Thomas.
Oh yeah, it broke your heart seeing, because obviously he keeps quite a low profile, doesn't he, on socials? But actually seeing that video of him at Ohio, that felt a little bit heartbreaking because, you know, what is he, 32, 33?
He could still be playing somewhere. Or,
exactly.
You know, so it's a shame, really. But, you know, that sort of player, really, the big receiver, long arms, just manages to get the ball. But you need the quarterback to do that. And I think that you're right there, Mike, about Shough's touchdowns. They were good touchdowns as well. That was a good throw there and, you know, he could have won it at the end. Would we have a different conversation probably if Chris Olave pulled in that reception for the touchdown, which, to be honest, he probably should have done.
It looked like it went through his arms, didn't it?
Yeah,
exactly.
From the reverse angle, it looked even worse than the angle you saw it live. And when they flipped, he's like, oh, it's gone straight for his hands. What's he doing?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like at this point in the season, if we are saying that Shough is going to continue playing in a similar manner that he has played, I think you'd be hard pushed to get a different quarterback unless there was someone that you were obsessed with and you thought was going to be a difference maker. You know, I don't watch enough college football to be like this player or that player or whatever. And I know that Arch Manning has had his problems, but I just want to see Manning on the back of a Saints jersey. That's all I want. Like, you know, I want that to happen. But if he's not there and he's not good enough, then obviously don't get him. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny one.
I'm hoping that Shough is...
Sorry?
It's the romantic in you. You just romanticize
it. Genuinely is, but it's not just me. Colts fans want it. You know, Giants fans will want it. You know, Broncos fans probably want it as well. You know, they all just because of the connotations and everything that surrounds it. You know, and the success that all of them have had. So yeah, it's I don't imagine that. I still think that Shough is probably, unless he falls off a cliff over the next few weeks, in line to start next season anyway. And the good point about that is you've got, you know, the Saints for years have had so much money going out to this player and that player and whatever. And it could be that next year and maybe the year after that it comes and actually it ends up being a much cheaper team because you've got Shough that's earning not very much money relatively. You've got Rattler, the backup quarterback as well. So they're not earning anything. You'll have all these high earners, I imagine, off of your books, or a lot of them anyway, off your books. You know, how long's Taysom Hill going to be at the Saints for? Maybe he'll retire at the end of this season, you know? So all of those sorts of players. Cam Jordan, what's he going to do? I think Cam Jordan, by the way, has played all right. Like,
Cam's coming back big style, isn't he?
But that's what I was thinking when I was watching him yesterday, and he got 2 sacks within about 2 minutes, or well, I don't know if it was 2 minutes, but he got 2 sacks. And I was thinking, do you know what? Like, if he's still got it, why would you get rid of him? Like, and he still wants to play. So anyway, you know, maybe the Saints can just sort the books out and build. But I don't know. I'm still in the mind of I'm still in the remember when Drew Brees played for the Saints. You know, like, you know.
Come on, Jay, leave it alone. Come on.
You're right. I do need to leave it alone. I do. It's bad.
We're all in that boat, and you know, unfortunately, Tyler Shough is the 9th QB I think that they've tried since Drew retired, and
I don't count Ian Book.
I don't think
That
Ian Book
never
counts Ian
happened.
Book.
That was like an episode of Stranger Things. It was just something weird that I imagined. The whole Taysom Hill thing, I feel like that's that scene from The Walking Dead. With, like, look at the flowers. It's like, I don't want to do it, but I've seen enough this season. It goes, I might have to do it. It's a shame, but yeah.
Yeah, it was
I think
it was interesting that they didn't seem to use, obviously, because a lot of the criticism that had been over the last couple of games the Saints have played is the amount of snaps that Taysom was getting when he didn't particularly look effective. It was interesting yesterday that he didn't get that many snaps, and he allowed Tyler Shough to actually be a QB moving towards the end zone. And I think, obviously, for the rest of the season, we need to see how that plays out. You know, come back to the Cam thing. I think Cam was happy because he made about $500,000, didn't he, with those
600 grand he made.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's got, and I think he's got incentives for if he gets 2 more, they're going to be 400 grand. And after that, it's 600,000 each sack. So, you know, not saying that that's the reason Cam's suddenly got a new lease of life.
He start doing that celebration.
He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to make a lot of money.
Good luck to him.
Yeah, it's a funny season, you know, and something that you is one of the funny things that happened at the Super Bowl in February is they have this big, and I didn't know how big it was going to be. They have a media party, right? And it was at Mardi Gras World.
Yes.
And I had no idea. I thought it was just going to be like a room no, it was the entire place. So and they've got all these food stores, and it was, you know, it's an amazing party. And then you go round a corner, and then there's just Cam Jordan, like, taking photos with people. And as soon as I get there, he says, I'm like stopping taking photos. I'll take one more or something. So you've just got me, like, I'm literally doing this, like making a stupid face in the background. And it's like, what have I got from this Super Bowl is I've managed to get a ridiculously stupid photo of me with like a Saints legend, but it's just funny. And that's a good example though of what was great about the Super Bowl. Right? Just quickly going back to it, is that you turn a corner in all these media places and then there's just a legend. Like here's a good one. You'll like this. Drew Brees was about 10 feet away. So I was like, oh, cool. I'm like, he was doing like interviews with a couple of reporters or whatever. This was in the convention center, which was where the media center was. So I go up and he's just finishing the last question and I didn't manage to get him one or whatever. So then I walk back with Mike Triplett from New Orleans football. So I'm speaking to him and for about a minute, something like that. And then somebody random comes over and it's obvious that basically Mike has got an interview set up to go. So basically I head off to go, and it's this, you know, guy that's probably about my height or whatever. So I'm about to walk off because this other guy comes up, obviously who's Mike's about to interview, and Mike stops me and he says, "Oh, have you ever met Jimmy Graham?" And I was like,
my God.
And I was like, you know, obviously looking up, very like, you know, hi. I was like, oh, like, hi, like, you know, so nice to meet you. Like, you know, big fan of it. I'm literally like a 15-second conversation and he was super nice. But like, it's just I mean, Mike knew what he was doing. So credit to him. Like, you know, he's introduced because he knew that I would have cared. And he, you know, so that because he could have, I was about to walk away, you know. I just thought that was quite funny. You go from not quite being able to meet Drew Brees to just having a chat with Jimmy Graham. I thought that was quite funny. A friend of mine actually had a photo with Drew Brees, and I've got to say, like, I'm not sure about the location. He was in the bathroom in the toilet, and then I was like, "You did not ask for a photo with Drew Brees in the toilet." He goes, "No, it was just outside." Even then, I was thinking, like, you know, he's just drying his hands or whatever. Hands. Hey, mate, can I just you know have a photo?
You got to take your opportunities, Jay. Unfortunately.
It's
true. Dan would take one with Drew whilst he's having a pee.
I think that's good. Look, we struggled to get the courage to ask DeMario for a picture, like, and I was physically shaking as I was standing next to him. Yeah.
So that was a funny one. That was a good one. It's funny though because I tell some people that Jimmy Graham story, and you can tell there's differing levels of how much they care. Like and it usually means like how long have you been an NFL fan as well? Like, you know, do you remember Jimmy Graham because he played for the Chicago Bears? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so it's quite, you know, when you're a Saints fan, obviously it's like, it's, you know, best tight end, You know, probably
Halcyon
the Saints
days
ever
they
had.
were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I feel, I feel like with Jimmy Graham as well, I could have probably write a dissertation on how he was not hard done by. I don't believe he was hard done by, but how his maybe career was hard done by, because
Yeah.
he would have been playing for the Saints when in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Years after he was traded. He would have been playing there. You know, the Saints went through Ben Watson, who else did they go? Loads of tight ends. Who was the other guy?
Josh Hill, Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
Who's the guy the big free agent one? I can't remember what his name is now.
The one from
He
the
played for
Colts.
No, he played for the Packers. Yeah, him. But also the guy who played for the Packers. I can't remember his name now. Anyway, it's going to annoy me that
I can see him.
So many different tight ends just trying to get that tight end, and it never quite worked.
And you had him in the building.
Reliant as well, not reliant on a tight end, but like that offense needed that tight end with Drew Brees. And anyway, whatever. I am living in the past now.
We'll reminisce.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch it back to the future. So obviously we were talking about the Saints. We were talking about how we feel about them. I think yet again one of the good things is this draft class. So you could possibly include Tyler Shough in it now, because a lot of people were saying, well, this draft class is pretty good, but we picked him at 40. But now maybe it looks like that was a half decent pick, still to be determined. I think that's the key thing this year has been actually a lot of the draft class from this year are already showing that, you know, maybe they've got a career with the Saints for the next at least 2 or 3 years, which is obviously healthy. We need another one of those draft classes next year. Is there any of the draft class from this year, Jay, that you have been most impressed with? Who's the one that you're sort of liking the most?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that when I've seen Jonas Sanka play, I mean, he's been put in a position as well when obviously Tyrann Mathieu retired, obviously, and what's his name? Names got injured really early on in the season as well. I think Danny Stutsman. So I've seen really good plays from him. Quincy Riley, I think, was it him that got that interception yesterday?
I thought,
and it was an interception. Yeah,
that's what I thought. I was like, that should have been an interception. I think that the player that looking forward will take from this draft class, I mean, besides Shough, obviously, depending how that works, is Danny Stutsman. I think has been a great addition to what was actually, I think, an already decent linebacker core, as in like starting linebacker core. But to the point where if you're a rookie and you're managing to get yourself into not only the conversation, but getting all these snaps and being able to get people talking about you, I think that's a really impressive thing. But the problem is I think that there's just so many other holes that we could talk about. So you can talk about, it's a bit funny. It's even like, okay, we could even do with a running back. I mean, Devin Neal, great. We don't really know what. It's a bit of a tough one to look at. But overall, I've been pleased with I don't think I've been unhappy with anybody. Is that fair? I think I've been.
I think that's fair.
Overly unhappy with anybody.
Yeah.
However, have there been any? Is there somebody that we need to work around, build around? Then maybe Stutsman, but I still think that there's just so many other holes. Honestly, you need starters, and it could be that some of these players that have been playing, well, next year you're going to see them starting, and that's generally how it goes, isn't it? To be fair, but I've been overall pleased, I think, with how it's all gone.
Got that juice, Stutsman, hasn't he? He's got that juice. By his own term, the cracker with the juice, which I want to put on a T-shirt. I want to put on a T-shirt, but I just want to make sure I do it in a way that's respectful.
Well, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm not a tough one. Kelvin
I wasn't
Banks
sure
Jr.
about
as well.
saying it myself.
Yeah. I mean, Kelvin Banks Jr. as well. I mean, it's funny actually, because you see some stats and it's like he's really bad, and then actually it's like, well, yeah, that doesn't really tell the whole story though, to be fair, of what he's done. And that O-line's been all slightly funky at points anyway this season. But yeah, I feel like the Saints are at a point where there's only a few players that you can nail on as starters. To be honest, I think there's so many positions that are going to be up for grabs come next season. I'll be very interested to know what happens in free agency, who is going to be going. And I imagine that Taylor is probably going to be going. By the looks of things, he's out of contract. I don't know which of the veterans might be going as well, but
Because you don't
yeah,
want to overpay either, do you? But it's essentially a nickel cornerback, so it's
yeah,
like, what do we do with it?
exactly. So I think this off season is going to be very interesting. I don't know if it will be fun interesting. It will be interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And I think, God, if we can trade back and get some extra pieces, because you're right, you look at the running back room yesterday and it was Devon Neal and Hull, wasn't it? And I mean, I thought Devon Neal actually was performed like a bit of a dog yesterday. I was fairly impressed with him. Short yardage gains, but he put himself through it. He got a lot of first downs for us. So I was actually relatively impressed with him. But you're right. You look at the holes that we've got everywhere. You look at wide receiver and, obviously we touched on Vele. Hopefully he's going to be someone we can sort of rely on. Larve, from everything we're hearing, he's probably going to get a contract. And then beyond that, that's it. You haven't really got much else in that position. You haven't, Alvin, is he on the downward slope? We don't know. But then you look at that running back room.
I had to Google who Evan Hull was yesterday because I didn't know.
I don't blame you. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like there's just so many positions that you were previously nailed on that aren't anymore. I think Alvin's a very good example of that. I have such respect for him that I would never want to see him go, but it might be a point where he's no longer the starter. But unfortunately, he's also going to be earning starter money. So, yeah, I hope that he goes down as a Saints legend. So I don't really want to
retire as a Saint. Yeah, that's
exactly
what I would want. Mike, did you want to, just before we wrap up?
Yeah,
we have this section, Jay. I don't know if you know about it. It's called "Where's the Seasoning?"
But yeah, no, I do. I think it's a brilliant line. Yeah, go on.
So I'll start with you, Mike. Where was your seasoning? Or do you want to start with Jay, or do you want to start with me, or what do you want to do?
I think you should go first because I think let's get the obvious candidate out the way because I know who you've gone for.
Okay. So my seasoning is, and I do my little ramble. My season is Charlie Smyth, right? So 56-yarder. It was a play that tastes like a good Colcannon, had been seasoned by St. Patrick himself. And the onside kick was like washing it down with a good pint of Guinness. And it triggered time travel memories because it was the same stadium that Thomas Morstead kicked the onside kick in the Super Bowl. So that's my seasoning.
Very good.
Charlie Smyth was like finding, and do you know what? The fact that he's been sitting on a practice squad was like finding a bag of potatoes stashed in the back of the cupboard that you didn't know were there.
Well, we didn't know was there. Well done,
so look at that. I've got 3 Irish references in. There you go.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. What, Jay, do you want to throw one in there and try and
no, you go next. It means it gives me a moment to think of one.
All right, mine's, I did have two, so I'm going to go with one purely, and mine's very simple, and I'm not going to be as poetic as Mr. Harper there. Mine is Mr. Danny Stutsman. For me, forget about the seasoning. He's a black Sambuca that you have at night when the party's not happening. One of your mates goes off, gets a tray of shots, you whack them down, and then suddenly the party starts. And for me, in that first half, that was the highlight moment of the whole half. He nearly took the fella's head off. So I'm going for Mr. Stutsman, the you know what with the juice, and the juice is Black Sambuca.
Okay, I've got one then. Okay,
go on then.
I'm going to go with Devon Vele, 8 targets, 8 receptions, 1 touchdown, great touchdown as well. It's a little bit like when you have a gumbo and then you get someone to taste the gumbo. And they're like, this is nice. But then you know that you actually want it a lot spicier. So then you go and grab the Tabasco, put a ton of Tabasco in, and that person goes back to have some more gumbo, not knowing you've done that. And then suddenly their mouth is on fire because you've got Devon Vele. Who is this guy? Is he going to be any good? And then suddenly there's the seasoning. There's the spice.
Love it.
That's it.
Especially as you did that on the fry, Jay. Give you that
exactly.
one.
And Jay... And I'm glad you picked Devon because he was my other one that I was going to choose because Dan had gone for the obvious candidate. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you guys. Always fun. Always, any excuse, just talk Saints. You know what I mean? It's all good.
I was going to ask you one last question. Did you ever get them zaps off Travis Etienne?
Zaps off of Travis Etienne? Does he get me? Did I say I'd
No,
swap? Oh, I remember
you said
now.
it when he was talking about Chris. I couldn't remember if it was him or Brian Thomas Jr. I'm pretty sure it was Etienne, but I remember you sent me the clip, and I said, "Did you ever get them?"
No. So I can tell you what happened. So that was I spoke to him from Jacksonville over a year ago before he came to London for the Jacksonville game in 2024. It was revealed that he's a big fan of prawn cocktail crisps, Walker's prawn cocktail crisps. So then I got him, and then it must have been that I said to him, "Get me some Zaps, and I'll get you some, crisps and prawn cocktail crisps." And then basically I got him some prawn cocktail crisps to give to him in London, but he was like not feeling well or something. So I couldn't even give him the crisps. I have no idea. I gave it to like someone from the Jags, but I've got no idea if he ever even received the prawn cocktail crisps. So, and I've not spoken to him since.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is sitting there like, these are good.
Yeah, he's munching down on them. Yeah, nice guy though, Travis Etienne. To be fair, nice guys. Maybe next time. Louisiana native, isn't he? I think Travis Etienne.
Yeah,
so,
it's taking over the NFL at the minute. Louisiana players, they're everywhere.
Indeed,
everywhere.
Well, I mean, like even even on the Jags, you got Travis, and I think Brian Thomas Jr. isn't he's from Louisiana as well. So it's you always whenever there's a player that's gone to LSU that's in the NFL, you're like, probably from Louisiana, and it is the case there. So no, maybe next time, maybe I can get the Zaps crisps next time. Big fan of them.
Anything else, Mike? I've got one last thing before we go. If you've got anything you want to,
you go, my friend. You go.
So for those of you based in the UK, on the 1st of December, we are venturing to Passaic Avenue in Waterloo to do a meet-up to watch the Jets game. I always get it wrong. So anyone's welcome. We've got a space. We've got a space reserved up there in the top bar for Saints fans. If any Jets fans we know, Matt Cullen, if you want to come along or anyone, come up, have a good time just before Christmas. Watch the Saints Jets battle it out for the number 1 pick before we battle it out with the Titans for the number 1 pick the week after. So let's be done.
And we'll get a tray of Danny Stutsman's in.
Danny Stutsman. Yeah, there we go. Jay, thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Jay.
And see you. So thank you so much.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jay.
Cheers, Jay.
Thank you very much.